So, thank you for joining another episode of Pop Culture Uncovered. I, of course, am Armand, and as usual, I am ignorant to almost everything that we're going to talk about tonight. But
that's how we like it.
Yep, that's why Pete made me host, because it means that I'm going to talk the least out of anybody you hear tonight. But we're going to talk about Starfleet Academy, which I will confess I have not watched and am not familiar with, and have not watched Discovery or Beneath Decks or anything else. But I do know someone who has.
Below Decks.
And but below decks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Under lower decks. Both of you. It's lower decks.
Lower decks. Sorry. See, that's why some fandoms, man. All you gotta do is not get the Vulcan nerve pinch the right way, and everybody feels some kind of way. All right. Well, Belle, you're our resident Star Trekian trekker.
I don't honestly say I think that might be Pete more than me, but
I think Pete's more a dedicated Star Wars dude.
I mean, it's a little bit of both.
Oh God, you middle of the road people sitting in fence.
You can like more than one thing.
No, you cannot. This is America. You can like one thing and you have to vehemently hate the other one. Where the hell you been the last 10 years, Pete? Give it the program. Star Trek,
Starfleet Academy. I will confess that I had no idea that this was even a thing. I went into it blind. The young man who plays Jaden, I follow him on Threads, and I saw him in like full makeup, and I was like, why does he look like a Klingon? I was so confused, you guys. And then I went, and I'm like, wait, he's Klingon. So I'm like, okay. Oh, he's on Starfleet Academy. Didn't know that this was a thing. My mom and I started watching. She's the one that introduced me to Star Trek all those many moons ago. So Sunday, we sat down and we watched it, and we fell into it hard. And I was very surprised that I was liking it because, as anyone who's listened to this podcast knows, I did not enjoy Picard at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. Not even a little bit. That show made just talking about it makes me angry. And so, but I did enjoy Discovery. And so the way Discovery ended, and this is actually relevant to the show, there is a time jump where the crew of the Discovery winds up 1,000 years into the future at the end. So this show is set about 5 years after the events of the finale of Discovery. It is after Starfleet has not been destroyed, but it has been minimized because they're fighting battles on every front. There's no place. Beta Z has left, and a bunch of people have left with Beta Z. The Federation is holding on by its fingernails, and bad decisions were made. So the focus of the show is on one very specific, very spectacularly bad decision in which a character is separated from his mother. Yes, I know. Shocking. Star Trek is talking about current events. And at the age of 6, I believe. And his mother, played by Tatiana Maslany, which, again, going into this with no idea who was in the cast, I saw her in the first 5 minutes and I was like, what is going on? Because she fell in with the wrong person, played by Paul Giamatti, who is playing a half Klingon, basically berserker, and he's terrifying. I did not know any of this when I watched the first episode. Literally every few minutes somebody would walk on and my mom were like, wait a minute, is that who I think it is? So he's playing Klingonite, which is a Klingon, and I want to say a Tellarite, who have made, and so basically, again, these two really warrior races, and they made him, and he's scary as hell. And so Holly Hunter's character, again, what? Holly Hunter is a judge during this time, and she basically tries to keep the young man Mir and his mother together. It doesn't work out because, unfortunately, because of Paul Giamatti taking advantage of his mother, she winds up as an accessory to murder. So she winds up going to jail for real. And that sets off everything that happens from this point on without giving too much more away. That is the basic premise of the show, is that Holly Hunter then spends the next 15 years trying to find this child because he escapes immediately once he realizes that they're taking his mother away. And so he's been on the run since he was 6. And she spent the next 15 years trying to find him. And she was so affected by the fact that her decision directly led to him and his mother being separated, and him being this little boy out in the wild blue yonder that is space by himself, that she quits Starfleet. This is, her character has already been through a lot up until this point, and this was kind of the final straw for her. And so when we get to the Starfleet Academy situation, Oded Fehr is in there as the admiral. He comes to her and he goes, "We're reopening Starfleet Academy because of all the events that happened before that. All hell broke loose. There was no Starfleet Academy. Starfleet Academy was gone." And he was like, "I'm reopening it, and I want you to be the person because she's 426 years old. She remembers what Starfleet was like at its best. She remembers." And he's like, "We need to get back to our ideals while also moving forward." I am really enjoying this show, because this cast is unhinged good. The young kids that they cast, I don't believe any of them have had any really or maybe one or two have had major parts. But the young man who's playing Mir, this is his literal first acting job. He was a bodybuilder before this. There's Jay Den, of course, who is the most adorable. A thing I never thought I would say about a Klingon. He is adorable, and I want to hug him and wrap him in a towel and make sure no one ever touches him because he's so sweet. The kids are very intriguing. And again, to what we've said about previous shows like this, if you don't cast the kids right, no matter how stacked the adult cast is, this isn't going to work. I think they're doing a really good job of giving us hints. Holly Hunter is a badass, and she's unhinged, and I love it. It's just been a fun ride, and it's, more importantly for me, it's moving the lore forward. One of the biggest issues I had with Picard was it felt like it was just mining nostalgia constantly, and there was no point to it. Or the points that they were trying to make didn't land. This doesn't feel like that. This feels like there are a lot of things where they are definitely calling back to the original series, to the films, both the Kelvin timeline and the original timeline. They are calling back to all of those things, but they're not stuck in it. They're not mired in it. You get things like the memorial wall that has Benjamin Sisko and Commander Riker and Ambassador Spock, and we find out the fates of like Harry Kim and other characters from all the previous series and the films. While at the same time, it's like, we have it. It's there if you want to pause and look at it, but we're not staying here. And I really appreciate that, because Star Trek was starting to fall into the same trap that Star Wars is currently in, where everything is looking backwards and we're not moving forward.
I mean, I just love seeing Harry Kim, made it past Ensign finally.
Yeah, I had to laugh at that because that was an ongoing joke for people who watched Voyager. It was like, he's never going to be anything but an ensign, and he finally did it. So yeah, I was pleased about that. Yeah.
No, I'm just surprised because that is a much more glowing endorsement, because all I've seen is the internet conversation. And the internet conversation is, oh, this is like sexy track. and they just wanted to put minorities and young people. This isn't what Star Trek really is, and so I was just like, okay, I'm like the neckbeards are back out, which I kind of thought was interesting because I was like, don't you guys know who owns Paramount now? I would think all of y'all would show up for Star Trek and be chipper, but it is what it is. But so no, that's surprising. Pete, you've watched as well, so seeing how that you're a fence sitting Star Trek, Star Wars fan, um, I guess I'm curious as to like, what was your take on it?
It's been interesting because I mean, when we talk about Star Trek, it's not just so I remember when we were talking during the pandemic about Star Trek, and I actually started doing like a watch of that first season of the original series because there were, Discovery was still new, and they were talking, the constant chatter is always, about like, oh, you know, uh, Star Trek was never woke. Like it did it in the right way. It's always some mythical goalpost move of Star Trek did it, but they did it without being heavy-handed. I'm like, I don't know what Star Trek you were watching, but every single version of Star Trek, not just the original '60s series was heavy-handed, but the next generation as well. Like it was like they were looking at the screen or looking at you through the screen and say like this is a very special episode where we're going to talk about gender, we're going to talk about race, we're going to talk about the arms race and weapons and collateral damage. Like there was nothing subtle in any version of Star Trek ever, and there was certainly nothing that was accidental. Like casting Nichelle Nichols from the get-go was a deliberate move, and also one that was meant to be visible. And so, yeah, if the Star Trek show pushes diversity and feels heavy-handed about it, or is like very deliberate about it, or even like winking at the camera about it, that's just how Star Trek has been for 60 years. And it's too late to say that it hasn't. Whether you like that or not, that's a personal preference. And to me, Star Trek Academy is one of those shows that, like, I don't think I like it, but I love it. I'm here for it, but it is very much like Star Trek has started playing ever since Enterprise started pushing different genres. It started being like the other Star Trek shows all had a very matching tone, and then you have Enterprise that was like this is going to feel a little bit different. This is shot in a different way. This is edited and directed a different way. And the series that have followed since, including those in this new era, like have very much that's also been true. The tone of Strange New Worlds and Discovery could not be more different in some ways, even though they came out of the exact same timeline. Like one is a spin-off of the other, but the tone is very different. And so, yeah, this does set up a Star Trek that happens like 1,000 years into the future. We finally got the future of the future, for better or worse, because there's things about it that don't make any sense. Like it's been 1,000 years and they're still doing this. And for a lot of for a lot of the online complainers, that's one of the first things they gravitate to because it seems like an innocent thing. Like should we have Holly Hunter, we have her character using glasses, and people are like, oh, 1,000 years, people like it's sort of anything we can sort of pick on to sort of to find a problem with this show. uh so so to come back to what I was saying, the genre of this feels very much like a streaming show for teenagers to watch. It is not like I am. You've got Holly Hunter just chewing up scenery, and you have some stuff that's related to Discovery. We're 5 years after after the end of that series, and tonally, it's very similar. But I mean, this is a teenager show. This is a teen drama show the whole way through, and that is a genre I don't normally watch. But because it's the Star Trek version, I'm showing up for it, and it just so happens that there's other really interesting things about it. So if you don't know, 1,000 years into the future is where Discovery gets flung from its original series timeline era, and what they discover is that 100 years prior to their arrival, all faster than light transit has been shut down, is no longer possible, and it was called the burn. And so because of that, these planets that had, they've been part of the Federation, part of the Klingon Empire, part of like other empires, are no longer able to speak to one another. They're only barely able to do anything, to interact and to still function. And so some interesting things have come out of that we're finally exploring with this series. For example, the fact that, Earth, in order to protect itself, formed an alternative to the Federation. The Federation still exists, but without the ability to do what they were created to do. The Federation became very much just sort of a figurehead, and is now finally regrouping. It's sort of like watching Marvel, after the snap. And so now Nalake has been, unretired to head up the Starfleet Academy's first class of students. A ridiculously tiny first class of students. But regardless, she's there. And of course, because she's half Lanthanite, she's lived for a very, very long time. And I think the only other Lanthanite that we know is Carol Kane's character, Pelia, which I always, confuse with Guinan's race because they all live so very long. But I mean, these two characters that we've met could be sisters, honestly. But
it wouldn't surprise me, honestly.
So a lot of these teenagers, like they're doing an interesting job of considering like different types of life. So you have like, Robert Picardo's doctor, EMH character. We have other photonic, self-aware beings, and they're essentially artificial life, but also, are an interesting study. And the woman who plays that character, which now I've already forgotten.
Carice
Brooks. There it is. So Sam, she's freaking adorable. And so the rest of the teenagers, I kind of take them or leave them, but she's always there. I just remember, we were talking about our Klingon character. So the character Jada and Krog are our young Klingon character. Like, he's like a living meme, because all I've been seeing for like the past couple months is like, if there's such a thing as Klingon opera, then there has to be such a thing as Klingon theater kids, and I want to see that. And he's like very much like a Klingon art kid. And if Klingons produce some of the most passionate works of art, is, as we know in the Star Trek world, it's lovely to see that. I love seeing Tig Notaro back, playing Jet Reno. I love Tig Notaro in anything.
I love her so much.
Anything. So I'm loving that. The only relationship I actually don't care about is Tarima, the Beta Z, Tamara, the Beta Z, and
Tarima and Caleb. Yeah.
Yes, Tarima and Caleb are the two people I care about the least in the show. And they have like the main romantic plot line, but they're both just sort of, they're teenagers, so they're both terrible, and they both say things, and I'm like, you just did that thing you're complaining about. Like, I'm yelling at teenagers on the TV. So I don't even know what age I am. I don't even know what year it is, but I love.
Get off my lawn.
Paul Giamatti is in a role where I'm actually kind of afraid of that dude. And I never thought I'd say that. And so I'm actually enjoying seeing how we sort of spotlight different characters and spend time with these kids at the Academy. Again, I will say it, there are too few of them for a class of the return of Starfleet Academy. That's all of these planets with billions and trillions of people, and we've got like 25 kids.
I will say they actually addressed that in the show, because a lot of the places that were a part of the Federation left and feel a type of way about the fact that the Federation wasn't there for them when the burn happened.
Community colleges have more people in a single class. Just Earth could fill a bigger class.
I do agree. I do think that they had, I mean, it's not 25. Please don't listen to Pete. It's not just 25 kids. It's like maybe
60. It's not triple digits, Belle.
Maybe 100.
Can we talk for a second about Lura Thok
Yes,
played by
Gina
Gina
Yashir.
Yashir, who, like, oh, look, I'm not even going to address the things that people have said about her and this character. Look, as a person who has been through boot camp, as a person who has had leaders like that, like, the homework was done, because I have had push-ups dropped on me like that. The half up, half, like, all of that
When she
is
made Jaden
terrible.
drop his stuff on top of Caleb, my mom was like, "That seems familiar."
Yeah, that's no joke, and she sells it. She sells it with every fiber of her being. I love the idea of a of a half Klingon and half Jem'Hadar.
Jem'Hadar. Yeah.
It's
She's terrifying, and I love her. She's so terrifying, and yet
fight people.
I absolutely need to see her fight somebody. I need it so bad, because it's gonna be amazing. The way they, like, the fight scene. Also, I will say the fight scene between Paul Giamatti and Paul Giamatti's character and Caleb's character, when that happened, woo, Lord, that fight was brutal. And I'm like, boy, you are lucky to leave this situation alive, because he was not playing around with you. And that is not something I ever thought I would say about a character Paul Giamatti was playing. But I believed that he could rip that boy's head off, and he was playing with his food through the entire fight.
Well,
I think
then.
they'll. Okay.
Oh no, go ahead, Pete.
Oh, I was just gonna say, the only other thing I can think of to say is, I don't. Again, I have no. I will not even address what the critics have said. I will just say this: it is really weird to have a crush on a 67-year-old woman. And Holly Hunter's I'm just feeling all sorts of ways, and I don't know how to handle it.
Not the only one. I was like, ma'am, you can't be sexy like this at this age. How dare you? And it's not an overt thing. It's the competency thing. I have such a thing for characters who are really competent and really, really good at what they do. And her character is really good at her job. And so I'm like, why are you laughing at me?
Because there's so many layers to that. It's like so what you're saying is, you appreciate the vitality of youth, but what you really need is somebody who's experienced. I'm sorry. I'm juvenile.
I said.
I'm juvenile. Well, on that note, thank you for joining our discussion of 90210 in space.
I'm telling you.
Join us next week, where I'm sure we will come up with something equally ridiculous to talk about. But for Belle and Pete, this is Armand. Have a great one. Talk to you soon. May the force be with you, but that's the wrong one. So I'll just say, may you live long and prosper-ish. Peace.